Well, that's fine if it's delayed. I'm just trying to see if for some reason is okay. It looks like I have sound here. I don't.
I can hear it now.
All right.
It's weird, but I can hear you.
Looks like perhaps now people can hear me. Well, that's fine if it's delayed. I'm just trying to see if for some reason. There we go. Sorry about that. Hopefully, this is the last of the little glitches that we will have. Try to bear with us. I'm not accustomed to doing all this technical mumbo jumbo. So again, the reason why we had thought of doing something like this was just to, one, continue to have a sense of feeling connected. Two, to maybe answer some people's questions if they wanted to know why not only middle ground, but collectively Masajid made the decision to preemptively close, even though as some people had said, well, there was only about a dozen cases or so. Why did we react in what some thought was such a heavy-handed way? So feel free to ask those kinds of questions. First and foremost, we reacted because with the consideration of the medical community, with the science, with the health professionals under their advisement, and what is also sensible under our deen, under our religion, according to Sharia, we felt that there was more than ample evidence to take a preemptive step to essentially, close things down to avoid unnecessary. Now, obviously, when we close the masjid, it doesn't mean we all stop praying. The salawat are still incumbent. And people in their home can still, if you pray with your family, inshallah, you can still get the barakah or the blessing of the ajr of praying in jama'ah. But we feel, just looking at Italy as a case study, other places around the world where it is going to obviously rapidly take off, we felt that it was not worth it to put people's health at risk, and there is a legitimate concern of risk to health and spreading, that people are dying. We're not trying to make anybody panic or give a sense that we all need to suddenly panic. And in fact, we'll address some of those issues, today about how is it, we should respond to, something like this. So I think, if we just trust the fact that one, there is a system here in place. I know sometimes people often complain about the lack of leadership, or when you have leadership and they make a decision and you entrust that they're making a good and an informed decision, then it's time for the followers to be followers and let the people in leadership lead and trust in their decision, and that inshallah Allah will still accept from us. Someone had asked, is this the end of time? Is this the final hour? Allahu A'lam, right? We all know that when the Prophet ﷺ was asked this question, he asked a man, what had he done to prepare for it? But let's, and I'm not trying to spook anybody, but just theoretically, okay, if that is the case, there's actually a very beautiful hadith that is related by Anas bin Malik. Al-Albani reports as Sahih, in which the Prophet ﷺ said, إن قامت الساعة وفي يد أحدكم فصيلة, that if the hour comes upon you and you have in your hand a fasila, like a sapling, a young tree for lack of a better word, وإن استطاع أن تقوم حتى, right, يغرسها فليغرسها. If you can, if you have the means to do so before the hour is finally established, plant that tree. Now, I've always found this hadith to be very, there's a lot of fruit we can pick from this hadith. One, we're being given advice from the Prophet ﷺ to plant a tree at the end of time. Matter of fact, to even plant a tree at the world's destruction. So this is a tree that nobody will ever benefit from, right? No fruit will be taken from it. It will provide no shade for anybody. It won't sequester any carbon. All of the things that we can think about that trees do. If you're planting a tree at the end of time, it seems to be a curious juxtaposition. And obviously, one of the lessons we can take from this is that we do things for akhirah, right? Even in the midst of a crisis, and in this case, the ultimate crisis of the qiyamah, right? In that case, then what do? Well, we do what we act for akhirah. We do what we know to be right, even if we will not see its benefit in the hereafter. And of course, in the case that we are not upon that ultimate final hour, then we return to the other advice of the Prophet ﷺ, which is to what? Well, what have you done to prepare for it? So even if this just turns out to be a little bit of a scare, well, as we discussed, over the last couple days, fear is actually a good thing, right? Fear in Islam is not a bad thing. And there's a difference, as we'll talk about, right? There's a difference between fear and panic, right? Fear and panic are two very different things, right? And in fact, I'll just bring up here, somebody is sending in some questions. There's the passage in the 15th chapter where Allah is talking about when the angels come to visit Ibrahim alayhi salam. And they're on a pretty serious mission. They are going to destroy the people of Lot, right? Sodom and Gomorrah. And, Ibrahim is actually unsettled, right? وَنَبِّئْهُمْ عَنْ ضَيْفِ Ibrahim, right? And inform them about the story of the guests of Ibrahim alayhi salam. إِذْ دَخَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ قَالُوا سَلَامٍ قَالَ إِنَّ مِنْكُمْ وَاجِلُونَ. When the angels visited Ibrahim, they were really they were scared. They were offset by them. And in the process of this conversation, they said, well, don't worry, we've come to give you this good news about you're going to have a son. And so he said, what kind of good news is this? And you're talking about this other thing going on. And they warn him not to be amongst the people who despair. قَالُوا بَشَرْنَاكَ بِالْحَقِّ فَلَا تَكُنْ مِنَ الْقَانِطِينَ. They tell Ibrahim alayhi salam, that we are here indeed to give you this message truthfully. فَلَا تَكُنْ مِنَ الْقَانِطِينَ, right? And don't be from the people who despair. And Ibrahim alayhi salam kind of comes back to his senses. قَالَ وَمَنْ يَقْنُطُ مِنْ رَحْمَةِ رَبِّهِ إِلَّا الضَّالُونَ. And he's kind of like, yes, what is the kind of person that would despair of the mercy of their Lord, except for a person that is misguided? And this shows that fear is a perfectly natural and understandable emotion to have, but fear primarily from the Quranic perspective, إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَعِبْرَةً لِمَنْ يَخْشَى خَشْيَةً, right? That is indeed a lesson, a warning for those who fear. And Allah also talks about إِنَّهَا تَذْكِرَةً, right? This book, this Quran, it's a warning. Wa alaikum salam. It's a warning for those who man sha'a, right? For the ones who have fear. it's and for those that call it and those that remember it, right? So fear, certainly from the Quranic perspective, is not something that is demonized, and in fact, we're encouraged to have fear of it because what does fear do? Fear makes you kind of stop everything. You go into a sort of fight or flight mode, and it makes you assess very straightforward, what am I doing, right? And that should be taken with our life. What am I doing with my life? This moment that we have now, where Allah has gripped the entire world and brought everything to come to a halt, for what purpose, right? And this is where we have to move beyond, is it a hoax? Is this the CIA? Even if any of those things have any modicum of truth to them. The main thing is that they're only sabab, right? They're only mere instruments of Allah's will. And that at this point, it's clearly Allah's irada, His will, that the world stop and reflect upon what we have been doing with our lives. And this goes for mu'min and kafir. Right? This goes for everybody, believer and non-believer alike. So if you happen to find yourself in a end of world scenario, our response is to not be like preppers, right? Our thing is to not prep to try to live further on because it's the end of the world. I'm not saying this is now the end of the world. I'm saying in the hadith that we talked about, right? It's not to pretend like or find some way to keep. No, the world is ending, and we accept at some point it all comes to an end. But we still do something for akhirah. And that is a lesson for everybody that, look, everything, inna sa'yakum la shatta, right? Allah says, all of the striving that you're doing is so diversified, you're going to see. You're going to see what you have really been striving for. So one, don't despair. If you're scared, let the fear actually motivate you to make tawbah. Because certainly, fear out of that, matter of fact, Allah says about, وَجَاءَهُمُ الْمَوْجُ مِنْ كُلِّ مَكَانٍ, when the waves came crashing upon them, دَعْوَ اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. Right? That when the waves came crashing upon them in that scenario that Allah talks about in many different places in the Quran, Surah Yunus, at the end of Surah Luqman and others, right? Right? There's that scenario that kind of analogy or scenario where what people are put into a situation, everything is fine, and suddenly the waves come crashing upon in them, and that would da'allah mukhlisin lahu din. They call upon sincerely out of fear, and Allah testifies to their ikhlas. Da'awallah mukhlisin lahu din. They indeed called upon Allah sincerely out of fear. The problem is, وَإِذَا أَنْجَيْتَنَا مِنْ هَذِي لَنَكُنَّا مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ. They make even a promise. Oh Allah, if you save us from this, لَنَكُنَنَّ مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ. We swear we will be grateful. فَلَمَّا نَجَّيْنَهُمْ. Right? The problem is, when Allah does save them from a thing, then they go, فَمَرَّ أَنْ لَمْ يَدْعُنَا إِلَى مَرَّ مَسَّى. They proceed on the way they went, making coincidence out of what happened, or making it trivial, or pretending that it didn't even happen. That's what's blameworthy. So fear, making even dua out of fear, can be sincere, clearly by what Allah shows us in the Quran. So if you're scared, make dua to Allah. That's actually a very sincere state to be in. The catch is, can you strive to maintain that sincerity after the virus or the earthquake or the waves or whatever it is? Once all of that has passed and gone away, will you remain sincere? Or will you forget that Allah saved you from it? Will you make coincidence of it? Will you be cynical about it? Right? These are the questions we have for ourselves. Um, I think that we should really use this opportunity because they don't come very often like this. This is an incredible opportunity for qurba, for being close to Allah. This is an incredible opportunity for dhikr, for remembrance of Allah. This is an incredible opportunity for ibadah. I'm sure not everybody, but many of us may find ourselves with more free time than what we used to have. And we all know, رَبَّنَا فَرَجِعْنَا, right? Oh Allah, send us back. سَمِعْنَا وَآمَنَّا فَرَجِعْنَا نَعْمَلْ صَالِحًا. Right? What's the thing that everybody says when they get to that point when their life is over? Oh Allah, we believe now. We believe. فَرَجِعْنَا, send us back. إِنَّا مُوقِنُونَ. We are sincere people of yaqeen. There's no doubt about it now. I believe in you sincerely. All doubt is removed. وَلَوْ شَأْنَا لَأَتَيْنَا. Right, Allah says, what? If we had wanted to, we could have done this, but our way is that we give you this one-way ticket, right, into dunya and then to akhirah, right? It's a one-way ticket. Nobody's coming back. And this is the kind of seriousness we should have, right? Our culture wants to tell us, and in particular young people, YOLO. You only live once. The problem is this is dead wrong. You actually live twice, right? You live, you die, and then you live again, either in the garden or in the fire. And this is the problem of taking our cues from popular culture. And along with the YOLO lifestyle is things don't really matter that much. Just do whatever you want, right? حَيْثُ مَا تُشِئْتَ. Do whatever you want. And, as the Prophet ﷺ related in the hadith, that one of the things that comes down from Nabuwah, from the earliest times, from what the prophets gave to the earliest communities, that if you have no hayat, if you have no sense of shame, فَفْعَلُ مَا تُشِئْتَ. Then just, you will do whatever you want. Do whatever you want if you have no shame. And therefore, in this moment of our life being really ground to a halt, do we feel shameful for all of the blessings, all of the health, all of the time, all of the opportunity that we had before, and we didn't make use of it? I know I didn't, and I'm an imam. And therefore, that feeling of shame is a good thing. I should be ashamed of how I didn't take advantage to to visit more sick people, to give more to charity, to read more Quran, to do more dhikr, to pray more tahajjud, to lower my gaze more, and on and on and on and on and on. I should feel ashamed. And shame is a good thing. But now we live in the time of aqwal al-nas, what people say, there's no shame in my game. What do you mean you have no shame in your game? You should be ashamed. Shame is one of the most powerful handbrakes that we can impose on ourselves individually. Forget about social customs and whatnot. One of the greatest vehicles to self-mastery is a sense of shame. It's a very powerful thing. And it really gives an indication of what one's relationship is like with Allah. Do you really feel ashamed of things that you do? I do. Sometimes I think like, Ya Rabbi. Ya Rabbi ighfirli. Inni dhalamtu nafsi. Allah forgive me, I definitely wronged myself. Wa kuntu min al-dhalimin. I was wrong. So having a sense of shame is also a good thing, and that can come out of this, right? That time of muhasabah, of self-reflection. What have I been doing with myself all this time? That being said, right? What do we do now in just how do we handle this from a day-to-day perspective, right? Um, One of the great ways to manage your anxieties and your other things is to be in the care and the service of others. Now, obviously, we want to make sure that people are not overly exposing themselves to the virus. At the same time, we don't want to completely abandon other people. So within the parameters, one of my good friends actually asked me yesterday. He's like, "Hey, I know that we're all kind of on lockdown, but I know that there's like a senior citizen home, and some of the people in there are very concerned and they shouldn't go out. What could we do to put together a couple of people to cook meals for them? Try to prepare them with all the safety measures, right? And can we deliver them to them? Or just, I don't know, deliver some messages or, service of others is a great way to manage anxiety. Because, when you're just sitting around and you're wondering, oh my God, do I have it? I coughed one time. Does it mean I need to get tested, right? That's where the inner hypochondriac comes out of all of us. And again, fear is not meant to paralyze us. Fear is meant to motivate us, at least as Muslims, right? So, can we look after each other? I mean, we all have this amazing technology, right? Can we put it to some good use where normally we just texting each other pictures of nonsense? Can we make a phone call or text or make a WhatsApp group and ensure that our neighbors, our elderly, are they looked after? Don't assume, right? Take those steps and make sure. And of course, this is an opportunity, for us maybe once a day for half an hour, just simply check in. And I wanted to also, say like if you are dealing or having issues of fears or anxiety, and you need some counseling, somebody to talk to. Middle ground is here. I'm here, so you can contact us. Matter of fact, I will put in both our website address here for you guys so you can have access to that, and also our email. Right? Contact at muslim.center. So, if you need to, we are here to provide services for these, for all of us here, inshallah, in these times. I guess I will ask, because it's about 6:30. We've been going for about a half an hour. Are there any questions that anybody wanted to ask? Any concerns? Feel free to type them in if you have any questions that you wanted to ask or whatnot. I'm checking here right now to see if anybody had a few people sending in some. So maybe what I'll do is really quick, just to for folks to have maybe something to go back and read. Maybe I can upload. So you can check it out yourself. Well, that is if my Well, maybe not. I just wanted to put this in there. I'm going to try and see if I can just post a link to the, at least to the one hadith I was talking about, in case you want to go and, yeah, this one. I'm going to try and so see if I can just post a link to the, at least to the one hadith I was talking about, in case you want to go and, yeah, this one. I don't know if that showed up. Maybe it didn't. Let me try again. My technology at this moment seems to be temporarily overwhelmed. I think it's taking every drop of I'm gonna just put this one here. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns going forward in the future, again, we're not trying to cause any kind of a panic here. We just wanted, everybody to know that, we're still going as a community. We're still here. You're not alone. I know that things are pretty weird, and that inshallah, I think we'll see that this was certainly the right decision to do going forward, and may Allah, accept from us in this difficult time. And again, just try to use this as an opportunity, which comes very seldom, where everybody around you is kind of slowed down. Especially here in America, we live such a fast-paced lifestyle, that this really is a blessing in disguise in some ways, to be able to have an opportunity where everybody around you, even if they're not Muslim, is certainly reconsidering their life, right? That is an incredible opportunity. So somebody asked, is it possible to do Jum'ah via live stream? Dawood asked that. So the answer is no. That, certainly I can live stream a khutbah, right? I can live stream a talk, right? But there is no Salat al-Jum'ah over distance, right? That we have to pray together, and if there is no congregation, then you pray Salat al-Dhuhr, right? You pray the normal prayer of Dhuhr in lieu of that. And that's a consideration. Maybe I will do that, inshallah, this coming Friday. Around the time I can do a quick bayan or a little talk. But then you would simply go and pray Dhuhr, meaning you would pray 4 raka'ah with the niyyah, or the intention to pray Dhuhr and the 4 raka'ah, and not to pray Salat al-Jum'ah. I know that people say, well, why not? Well, if that's the case, really, why not just live stream Isha from the Kaaba and all the rest of the world pray, right? So we understand that generally this applies, across the board, that there is no salah at a distance, right? And that the jama'ah is established in its locality. But inshallah, perhaps we can do a live stream little talk, just so that everybody gets a little, inoculation of deen, every Friday. And of course, I'll try to do maybe something short, 20 minutes on a daily basis, just so you can kind of plug in and get something. So, I've had several, it's a good question. I've had several people ask that question, but the answer would be no, there is no Jum'ah over distance, right? It's only something that's established. Now, if you have enough people in your house of adult age, you could most certainly do Jum'ah in your home. Matter of fact, I'm trying to think with particularly Dawood, man. You might have enough people in your crew, man, that you could just do Jum'ah by yourself in your house, man. Looks like you get your shot at being khatib. So, generally speaking, if you have three people, right, one to give the khutbah and two to sit in the audience that are of the age of praying, you can do so. And I don't mean that as a joke. I mean, you really could do that. You could most certainly do Jumu'ah in your home, which again, I'm not saying invite over all your cousins and your friends, because then this sort of defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do, right? That's why the masajid are closed. But if you have enough people in your family that are of the age of praying, absolutely. Matter of fact, that is something to really consider to pray in your home, if that's something that's really important to you. In my case, unfortunately, I don't have enough of a body count to do it in my house, but alhamdulillah, we just pray dhuhr. Any other questions that anybody has? Oh, I see Ernst. Wa alaikum salam, Ernst. So it's 6:45. I think that's a fair amount of time. If there's no more questions, then I think we'll go ahead and wrap this one. And for the one going forward, they'll probably be much shorter. I'm just going to put together just a short little dars, something inshallah beneficial, like what you might attend after the salah or something like that, a short little khatira. And just do something for us to check in on one another. Again, please make use of the email there. If you would like to schedule a time on the phone or chat or something like that. If you feel the need for some counseling or advice, inshallah, we're here for you. Wa jazakumullahu khairan. Inshallah, we will see you in the next one. I'm not quite sure what time. I don't know if we're going to do it. I don't know if this time works well for everybody, like right before Maghrib. Matter of fact, maybe that everybody can kind of leave their last little comment. If you think that this is better or another time would be better, that would be a good suggestion that perhaps, inshallah, you guys could make. And we will see you, inshallah, in the next episode. May Allah Ta'ala bless you and your family, keep you safe and well. And inshallah strengthen your iman in this time. ربنا زدنا علما وحلما وبارك على صحتنا وصلي وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Oh, all right. Looks like we're not done. Wow. Now the questions come in. So the question was, do we still do all the preparations for Jumu'ah? Yes. So I'll just put it to David's question. Yes. Yes. So it is still customary to make ghusl every Friday. And even though it is not mandatory, right, according to some narrations, the fadila or the blessing to read Surah Al-Kahf, yes, that all still applies. The only thing right now is that we are not gathering to actually pray Salat al-Jum'ah. But don't forget, Jum'ah is more than simply the khutbah or even the salah. It's the entire day, right? Jum'ah is the day. It is just on that day we have Salat al-Jum'ah, which could be really Salat, Salat al-Yawm al-Jum'ah, right? It's like the Salah on the day of Jum'ah and the Khutbah Yawm al-Jum'ah, right? It's the Khutbah on the day of Jum'ah. But everything else that applies, like for instance, the well-known hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, he said, أَكْثَرَ الصَّلَاةَ عَلَيَّ يَوْمُ الْجُمْعَةِ, right? The day of which we are encouraged to make the most salawat upon the Prophet, right? To say sallallahu alayhi wasallam or salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad, right? The day to say the most salawat or most blessings upon the Prophet is Friday, is Yawm al-Jum'ah. All of those things still apply. So all of the adab of Jum'ah, al-ghusl, right? Taking the bath, dhikr, dressing well, all of those things should actually all still be maintained. And there's also a good thing because it's important that we have one day of the week that has a reverence to it. So actually, those are good things to maintain. Um, so yes. Oh wow, you're in Texas, man. Well, inshallah, you can get some halal barbecue DoorDash, man. If I were in Texas, that's what I'll be doing. Um, so yes, try to maintain, right? I think especially in this time where I don't know, several of us might be out of our normal work schedule or kids are home or whatnot. I think it actually would be a great benefit to still find a way to make Jum'ah somehow special because now the days can kind of slide together. I even said to my wife, I said, "Oh man, it's great. I need to call the doctor tomorrow, Monday." She's like, "Today is Saturday." I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's already feels like the days are kind of like blending or mushing together." So having Jum'ah as a day of which we look forward to, and then a day that is made special through some extra ibadat or nawafil or something supererogatory, I think is most certainly a good way to, and then even a longing, right? Like maybe Wednesday, Thursday, a longing in the heart of, inshallah, may Allah Ta'ala bless me to reach that day and then to gain all of the fadila, gain all of the blessings of that day. I think that actually would be very, very helpful in this day. And as we know, actually, in some narrations, Yom al Jumu'ati Eid, right? Where it's Eid Saghir, but like it's almost like a kind of Eid or a holiday because it comes from what? Aada, to come back around to. And we come back around to Friday every week. And it's a day that should be celebrated. So simply because we don't go to the masjid or simply because we don't hear the khutbah on the sermon on Friday, find a way to be a little bit creative. I don't know, cook something different. Inshallah, my wife can make some couscous on Friday. We can, have something a little bit special where maybe we don't eat couscous except for Friday. So find a way to make it a little bit special. I think that would be very important, and especially for our children, right? I didn't really touch a lot, but I think for our kids, especially if they are going to be home, I don't know, read Quran with your kids every day, but okay, I get it. After a while, you're like, oh man, I need my 3 feet of space. Your kids are driving you crazy. Then definitely have a kind of activity on Friday where you do something. Or if you have one of your kids, man, let them give a little talk in the house, like let them dress up and play khatib or whatever. Try to be creative during this time to express our gratitude to Allah. As we say, لا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون. We will not worship anybody other but Allah with sincerity, even though the disbelievers do not like it. Maintain that spirit, inshallah, of trying to be obedient, be observant, be cognizant, all of those things, inshallah. And I think we can find, a way to make this time actually a blessed time for us, even if it is with something very serious going on. We can still find a way to make it a blessing for us. So, no, jazakumullahu khairan for actually that point. Any other questions before we let y'all go? Even if it is with something very serious going on, you can still find a way to any other questions before we let go? I'm seeing now that there's actually quite a bit of a delay, so I'm just waiting to see if anybody's questions come through. So it looks like that's pretty good. We're at 4. We're coming up on an hour. So, So you have, I'm easy to find. You can hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email, pretty much any way you can think of to get a hold of me. Inshallah, you can get a hold of me. And, spread the word and let people know we'll be doing this on a daily basis. So just a way for them to check in and check in on other folks. Again, may Allah Ta'ala bless you and your family. Inshallah, keep you safe. وصلي وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا ورسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.